And we are live. Hello and welcome to the Connection Loop podcast from Dub. Today, I'm so excited to talk about things that we're all thinking about as business owners and as entrepreneurs and as leaders. How do we maximize our profits? How do we maximize our revenue? And how do we do it with grace and style? Well, today I have with me Holly that's going to get into this on a massive level. She's written a book. She's done a TEDx talk, and she is here to educate us. So, Holly, if you could give us a short little bio, and then let's get into this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks first of all for having me here. And for those of you listening live, if you have questions, put those in the comments so that we can actually help you live here and in the replay. Same. So, my name's Holly Jean Jackson. I'm a revenue and performance consultant. What that means, I help authors, speakers, business owners, and business leaders on how they can go bigger with their revenue so they can go big to give big. And I find that they typically have the biggest pain points in 5 key areas. This is where you leave money on the table or you have profit leaks. And those are your lead generation, your sales process, your customer experience, your employee experience, and your legacy. So we're going to dig into that in this conversation today. And again, if you have questions, put those in the comments so we can get to them.
Nice. Let's do this. Okay. So first, I'm always curious. Take us through your TEDx talk. What was that like? What was the topic? How can you summarize that and sort of educate us in that realm?
Well, first of all, I would say even if you're a professional keynote that's done international talks, doing a TED Talk is a totally different beast. And it takes a tremendous amount of preparation in terms of getting the content approved by TED, as well as making sure that you're rehearsing it because it is memorized. You have to have the script down because TED approves it based on the script that you're submitting. So it's a very different type of talk. How I landed it was actually using a program that I sell called LinkedIn Easy Button Lead Generation. And I just simply targeted all of the TEDx curators in the surrounding states that I live in. And I built a relationship with those folks and eventually was invited through 2 of them. And one of them was the best fit and resonated and was luckily 30 minutes down the road. Did that TED Talk. I would say if you're going to do a TED Talk, there are a few strategies and things you want to keep in mind.
Okay.
Number 1, you want to make sure it's aligned to the thing that you're trying to promote, your business, your market, et cetera. It's not completely a 180. It's not out of alignment with your message. And 2, I would hire somebody to make sure that you have the algorithm really great and dialed in so that you can get more views. So my TED Talk, for example, has 5,000 views. If I had hired somebody, it would have over 100,000 views. 5,000 is still great, but make sure you leverage that TED Talk. However, I would say that I got 3 clients from doing that TED Talk. So it definitely paid for itself because the contracts that we have are pretty significant. So make sure you're building connection, make sure it resonates, put it in your email signature, put it in all of the partnership agreements that you have and share it with the world.
That's really great. And then take us through the dialogue of that TED Talk.
Yeah. So basically, my TED Talk was the idea that I wanted to share was aligned to the theme for that year, which was about the new era. So I scripted something based on chapter 10 in my book, which is really on dealing with chronic pain. And I wanted this to apply to the theme and a larger audience. So I took those 7 or 8 chronic pain strategies and put it into a 4-step process that spells out fear and created the fear method. And I basically uncovered that how we navigate chronic pain is similar to how we navigate any challenge or curveball that life throws our way. So the fear method, F stands for face it, E stands for embrace curiosity, A stands for advocate for what you want to need. There's also a second A that we didn't have time for in the TED Talk. That second A is activate the right mindset and the positive thinking. And then R stands for reach out for the support that you need. So the fear method was based on that book, chapter 10. And it was essentially helping business owners, leaders, and just everyday people navigate fear and uncertainty in a way that they could face any bear or fear that they faced down the road.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
All right. So my next question is this: how do we maximize our revenue and prevent profit leakage? Very global question. Take us through it.
I was like, that's a big question.
It is.
Okay. Well, first of all, I like to start with the low hanging fruit. Let's plug your profit leaks, right? And if we look at those 5 key areas, we're going to look at one for a specific example in a story. Lead generation, you guys. I can't tell you how many clients or people I network with have lead generation challenges, or they have heavily relied on one platform like Facebook. And then Facebook changes the algorithm, and overnight, your lead gen is completely dry. So, in terms of making sure we're closing those profit leaks, we want to make sure we have diversification across your lead generation tactics and strategies. We also want to make sure that you're not totally reliable on somebody else's platform. If it's a
Mm,
platform you don't own, you need to have consistent procedures and processes for backing up your contact information,
mhm.
whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, any of the platforms. So be really careful when you're building on borrowed real estate on any platform. This includes your email list, anything. I know it sounds paranoid, but it's really important.
No, I think that's great.
Yeah. And then additionally, in terms of plugging your profit holes, it's looking at the technology stack that you're using. I can't tell you how many times I'm working with business owners and speakers and leaders, and they are basically duplicating or triplicating the technology they're using. So we want to make sure you're not overspending on something where you're buying the Rolls Royce of a CRM when you need, the Toyota of a CRM. So we want to be very intentional with that. And then I would say, since we're being very broad on this conversation here, when we get more specific and tactical on then achieving peak performance for that thing, whether it's we'll stick with lead generation for now, you want to build out your standard operating procedures based on the goal you have for that quarter and long term. What do I mean by that? So many I'm talking like business owners who've been in business for 30 years. I've had several of those who don't have standard operating procedures. If you don't have this, you can't scale it. You can't have somebody else drive the bus, so to speak, of that particular role or that particular tactical advantage or that strategy you're going after. So, as soon as you figure out something that's successful in your business, you want to streamline that process by building out standard operating procedures, templates, trainings, so that anybody in your organization can run with that thing to make it even more successful, and then applied continued improvement over time and lessons learned each quarter on how you can make it even better over time.
Okay, so there's a couple of questions that come to my mind when we talk about this. Number one is lead generation and the importance of lead generation. Number two is the importance of process scalability, building systems so that we can work with our team at the optimized level, but then also eventually bring on more people. But here's my question for you is how do we make sure that the customers that we already have and the leads that we already have are being serviced correctly? There's a really common thing that I think that growth minded folks do, which is they always say, I need more leads. And then you ask them, well, how many leads do you have in your CRM right now? And they might say 100,000. And then you say, well, wait a minute. Why do you need more leads? You have 100,000 people that have signed up for your service, put their email in, filled out some form in the last 3 years. Why do you feel the need to go and spend money on ads and go through that investment process when you already have folks in your mix? How would you coach someone to properly extract all the value and make all the connections that are potential within the existing CRM before they go and just get these warm, leads?
Yeah, so that's a great point. I was just trying to keep this simple because there's so much layered underneath each of
Yeah.
those 5 categories, but this is a huge thing. So a lot of people, business owners will say they have a lead gen problem. But then you actually pull back the hood of the car and ask them more questions, and you say, well, like you just said, how many leads do you have? How many people are in your CRM? How many people are in your email list? If you have that many people on your list, but you're not converting them to clients, you have a sales problem. You
Yeah.
do not have a lead problem.
Right.
Or you have a targeting problem. You are targeting the entirely the wrong avatar, the wrong audience, the wrong ICP. If you have that many contacts that are not converting. So it's one of those two problems, sales or targeting, right? Now, in terms of optimizing the sales process, People leave money on the table all the time, in particular with their email list and their CRM. These are
Mhm.
your gold mine. This is your gold mine. This is your business ATM, your CRM, your email list, your existing clients, and your partners. These are relationships, prospects, and contacts you need to nurture on a consistent and regular basis. So, going back to your other question of how do you make sure that you're actually nurturing your existing customers? Again, your existing customers are the best resource for referrals, as well as developing your product suite and pipeline. If you are tuned into your existing customers for the next pain point that they're all experiencing, you can create and solve that thing so that you continue serving them as customers for years, possibly for
Mm.
life. I mean, I'm at the point in my business where I have second and possibly third generation people I'm serving. So, like their kids and their grandkids, right? Which is amazing. It's exciting. But you have to make sure you develop systems and processes to remind you and your team to do these check ins over time. And that includes your sales process. That includes reaching out to your email list. That includes nurturing that email contact list, not just for selling them something. A huge mistake people make is, oh, I'm just going to sell them this thing, get them to this event, push my book, push my podcast. Add value to your email list. And every other email you're sending should be a very personal connection email that sure has business value, but it's as if you're writing it to a friend. So you can increase that open rate, get engagement. And honestly, those emails are the ones that create sales for me. I'm like, oh, I was, paddleboarding the other day and my arm hurt and this thing happened and it's aligned to my business in this way. Has this ever happened to you? And they reply and they're like, hey, I need help with this in my business.
Mm. Yeah, I think one of the things that's really interesting is this idea of self-awareness when it comes to what our chronic pains are, as you mentioned before, because some folks might not be aware. I might not be aware that I have a lead generation problem, that I have a sales problem, that my conversion rates are not optimized to what they need, that I'm not building out the process that I need, that I'm not scaling in the way that I need to. What recommendation would you give people to become self-aware of actually what their conflicts are within the business?
That's a great question. So, first of all, if we kind of equate this to your health and seeing a doctor, when we're sick, we don't assume that we can figure it out on our own. Like, yes, there's a lot of wisdom that our bodies gives us, and we need to listen to that. But if you can't figure it out, you go to see an expert. You see a doctor. They give you a prescription. They might say you need bed rest. They might say you need ice, whatever that is. It's really ironic to me in business how much resistance there is to hiring and finding a professional to help you see your blind spots, you guys. And there's so much pain that business owners create by procrastinating and resisting. If you are struggling with something specific in your business and you keep procrastinating, you keep experiencing the pain, that simply means you need to hire somebody else to help you with that thing. Or you need to find resources like a class that you can do it yourself by learning, or a book, or a mastermind, or a SCORE has free, resources nationally to help you get past that and get some accountability. We cannot see our own blind spots. It's so funny. I coach and consult with my clients, and yet I still need somebody to point out my blind spots.
Yeah.
So you can build more self-awareness over time, but nobody ever is going to get to the point of being able to see their own blind spots. I think
Right.
if that happened, we would be Yoda or Jesus or something.
Yeah.
That
Well,
would
I
be
mean, it's
exciting.
right. No, great point. I mean, it's interesting because, our eyes are outward, our mouth is outward, our ears are outward, our nose is outward, and everything is outward, and nothing is pointed in. And I think
No.
from the perspective of the business, we're not a customer of our own business. We don't go into the storefront, onto the website, into the experience and consume it and experience it as if we were a customer. We're doing it from completely the inside. And I think that what that does is that it gives us this certain essence of blindness to have a really holistic understanding of what the full user experience is like. What is it like from the onboarding to the conversion to the being a client to canceling or sticking around for a while and then referring and leaving testimonials and referrals. And I think the hardest thing to do is for us to actually take ourselves out of that sphere and to actually get that perspective. But how do you do that, right? Is it mystery shopping? Do you ask people? For me, it's about spending time with customers, and it's not just on a Zoom call for 30 minutes. I will try to sit with them and understand, why did you buy and why did you not buy and why are you still around, or why did you cancel? And it's a process, and it's an imperfect process. What's your take on that? How can we gain that perspective?
Yeah, so if we're talking about your customer experience, there are a lot of things you can do to get additional data points and insights to see where there are gaps or completely big surprise blind spots. So, for example, I was just talking to one of my business partners today, and he shared with me that his big goal is to get more referrals from his existing client base. And he said, "But Holly, I just discovered that my clients, I've heard from 3 of them so far, they're not giving me referrals because they consider me their secret weapon and they consider referring me to others as helping the competition," right? So, how interesting is that? And then it helps you realize, well, that's the pain point and the problem of why I'm not getting referrals from my customers. That's just kind of one
Mm,
example. But if he hadn't been asking his customers questions around, why are you not referring me? Or, obviously wouldn't position it that way, but what would make it easier for you to recognize somebody who's in need of the services we provide? And what would make it your job easier for sharing that connection point and adding value to your network? So it's
mm,
having conversations like that in a very authentic, open way. It's having surveys that you send out to your customers. It's when you have maybe your group, your clients are meeting in smaller subset groups, it's getting reports on pain points from them. And it's really reading between the lines in your emails and in your conversations of where you need to ask more questions and really listen and tune into what's actually happening in their experience. So, for example, when your client first buys your program, if you're selling a big ticket item, we know that buyer's remorse happens. That we know that they're a deer in headlights, they're scared. Instead of that happening, why not continue creating moments of delight where they're still excited? Because you've already thought ahead of that and you've sent them something that's a delightful moment that's going to help them accelerate past that first thing. So you have to put yourself in the shoes of your customer as much as you're able to and create these moments of delight versus, oh, deer in headlights, freaking out. Because you guys, when you're creating change, it's scary, it's overwhelming. So you have to remember you're 2 to 100 steps ahead of your client. But if you go back in time to where they are, how scary was that first big investment you made in your business? It was
mm,
terrifying. It's like jumping off
mhm.
a cliff.
Right. So interesting. There's something else that I have found a lot of peace in, which is removing the ego. And here's what I mean by that. When we get negative feedback about our business and about our user experience, we might often have a visceral response to say, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know anything about technology. You don't know anything about business. Our stuff's fine. We've got customers that are paying for this." But there's this real joy in, in detaching ourselves from our ego, and that feeling of being offended, and sort of playing this kind of stoic role to say, you know what, maybe I'm ready to go and observe and to actually make some improvements and to let go of my feelings. Um, how can you coach us and guide us on not getting our feelings hurt in an effort to improve our business?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you guys, if you're a business owner and you're handling the sales of your business, which many people are for a long time into their business, you need to learn some objectivity and a thick skin and some distance. So, the way I look at this is when, for example, somebody says no to a sale, unless they say, Holly, I don't trust you, I don't like you, which never happens. That's not a no, it's a no right now, right?
Mm,
So you can't take that personally. You can't look at it as rejection. It's timing. It's just like dating. Just because, like let's say you meet Mr. Right or Mrs. Right, but the timing isn't right. It's very tricky. There's a lot of things that go into that equation. So there's that, but there's also you never really know what's going on in somebody else's life. So, for example, in a more personal situation, I had a relationship, good friendship, that we had a falling out due to crossing boundaries. Well, just recently, I discovered that this person, the reason that happened was medical. Like there was a medical issue that caused their experience to, they were not able to regulate their emotions and they weren't obviously able to respect my boundaries. And so, upon discovering that and then also finding balance and medical treatment for that, we were able to come back and rebuild that relationship. But it's just wild that that relationship was non-existent for years. And so a lot of times my business owners, they'll come to me and say, Holly, I had somebody who was a hell yes for a sale and now they've ghosted me. And I have to remind them, well, first of all, are you sticking to your process? Because it's not about you. It's about them. It's about timing. And then I say, great, you're sticking to the process. There are a million reasons they might be not responding. They're not ghosting you. They're not responding because they could have a family emergency. They could be sick. They could be on vacation. Their email could not be working. So next time you think that, it's not about you. Sales and your business is about your customer. And the more you can actually get your ego and put it to the side and listen to them, it's actually for you. It's for your customer and for you. You're going to be so much more happier and successful when you put yourself to the side and just objectively listen to improve the process.
Yeah, really well said. I think that I really connect to this on a deep level because we, as the CEO of a software company that helps people communicate with video and build brand and authenticity and showing value, if there's one thing that I've learned in these, probably almost 1 million videos that have been created on our platform, is that when people share value and authenticity, we've heard this before, but when people share value and authenticity, there is something that comes back to them. And the best performing video that someone can send on Dub via email or SMS or LinkedIn is the following video. And I have the data to back this up. It's an apology video. And when you say, listen, I wanted to apologize for not addressing your needs in our meeting, and I had a chance to put together a presentation, let me share my screen, or let me show you some value, or let me, show you a graph or a chart or something that sort of builds trust with us. All of a sudden, it makes this empathetic connection. It breeds vulnerability, and ultimately it builds trust that results in real revenue. And I always tell that to people, when you send someone an email, they don't know what that exclamation point means. They don't know if it's sarcasm or if it's you're exaggerating or if you're being an alarmist. They don't understand that. So use video. I always say that. And I think to connect to your words is that, if we take offense to the fact that someone did not email us back, maybe it's because of those reasons that you mentioned. And maybe it's on us to go and provide some more value, maybe be visual, maybe send them a video. So I connect to that.
Yeah, that's a great point. So to your point there, one of the things we build into customer experience, employee experience, and even the sales process are different types of communication formats. So if your sales process is only leveraging email, your conversion rate is going to be pretty low. Just putting that out there, you guys. But if you are leveraging email, the phone, you're picking up your phone and actually calling that person. Yes, guys, I said that. We're not, back in rotary days, your cell phone. And you're also using audio note on text, audio note on WhatsApp, audio note on LinkedIn. You're messaging them through social media, all of these things, and especially video. You guys, video is a powerful way for landing speaking opportunities when going after that conference planner, for pushing a prospect over the edge of adding that high touch delight moment. So leverage that video because there's so much that can be misunderstood in written word. But when they can see you and hear you and feel what you're trying to express, it's very, very different and it's a lot more powerful.
Right. I mean, someone once told me this advice. It's very brutally honest advice, but assume that if you send someone a message in some capacity and they don't see you, they don't hear you, they can't make that visual connection, build that parasocial relationship with you, they're assuming that you were a monster. Okay. because there's a lot of monsters on the internet. There's people that have malicious intentions and there's bots and there's all sorts of stuff that we shouldn't talk about now. But just realize that our defense mechanisms have become so strong because we've heard about every single thing that you can hear about phishing, and I can't even remember all the terms anymore. We have a duty now. We have an obligation to use video. And if you can't send them a video message on Dub, that's fine. But at least have a podcast like this that's on YouTube, like this one. This one's actually on YouTube and LinkedIn and X, and this is a shareable asset. So I encourage you guys to have more speaking opportunities like this that Holly's doing.
Absolutely. Speaking is one of the most powerful ways to grow your business, whether it's podcasting and using video as well for that, or doing virtual summits if you don't feel like going in person, and then having, sizzle reel of your speaking engagements that are in person. Speaking is so powerful because you are sharing your story. You are, the best speakers in the world, not all of them, but the best speakers are authentic. You can feel the, emotion in their stories. You can relate to their stories. If we go back to caveman days and tribal days, the reason you think of the campfire is because we learned through stories in circles and in connection. Yeah. And the reason podcasts are so popular and videos and books is because we relate as humans to stories. We can see ourselves in that story. So if you start doing podcasting, even just guesting on podcasting, you'll start to see when people lean in and they're interested in a specific story you're sharing, which gives you more data points on what's going to resonate the most with your audience. So it's a great way to practice sharing your story, to practice the videos you should be doing as vertical videos on YouTube for the marketing people out there, so that you're really growing your YouTube channel and growing your presence. And by the way, if you do not have a video on your homepage on your website, you are leaving so much money on the table.
Yes.
I'm going to share one story on that.
Please.
Real quick. I had this prospective client tell me after signing up that she was so nervous to have an initial discovery call with me. At the time, I called it that. And the reason was because my website portrayed me as so well put together and perfect that it intimidated her. How valuable is that? She said the only reason she felt brave enough to book that call is because she watched the video on my homepage, and she's like, "You're so down to earth, easy to like, and your energy is incredible. But if I hadn't had that video there, I wouldn't have ever gotten that client, and I would never know how important having that video," and I'm talking just using your cell phone, not fancy or anything, just really authentic video is so important.
Yeah, so well said. I think the word of the day and the word for this podcast is delight. And I want to actually read the definition of delight because it's such an important word when talking about storytelling and podcasting and public speaking and writing your book, like what Holly did, which I'll share more about in a moment here. This word delight is very important. And I connect to this word because when I think of user experience, I want it to be a delightful user experience. Here's what our definition is. The word delight derives from the Latin delectare, to charm, which also gives us delectable and the same lighthearted sense of pure, uncomplicated pleasure. So ask yourself, is your lead gen and your sales process and your storytelling, lighthearted sense of pure, uncomplicated pleasure?
That's such a great reminder. So my friends tease me all the time because I love using the word delight. And they just like, "You're such an old school whatever." And I'm like, "You're crazy." But it really is true. So my lead gen messaging, I talk about creating magic with my connections. Yeah. How is that not fun? And doesn't it make you interested and curious? Well, what does she mean by magic?
Right.
And who doesn't relate to magic? And how is that not playful and fun and delightful? So every interaction and touch point you have with your prospects, your partners, your stages that you're going to speak on, your audience, it should be delighting them. Otherwise, what are you doing? You're only competing at this point in the world based on the experience you provide, because there's not really a lot of new things out there that are completely new that don't exist. But if you can make yourself stand apart based on delight, based on the experience you provide, you've got it win. You've had dialed it in. It's great.
Dial it in. That's it. I wanted to show you guys a really quick example of my interpretation of delight when it comes to technology user experience. People used to say to us, I don't know what to do when I'm in Dub. You guys have so much stuff. You can record videos and share them and track them. And then we said, you know what? Let's just give the quick actions toolbar here so that people know what to do. Record a video from your webcam, from your screen, host a video on YouTube, an email campaign, use a teleprompter, build a workflow, make an avatar video, create text to video. And what we started to realize is that, well, people are like, I still don't know what to do. So then we started to add these tutorial videos that you can watch and actually physically see what this is going to look like. And people are like, oh, I get it. It's visual. It makes sense. And then we said, let's add this cool, like unicorn, like sprinkly, raining joy and delight user experience. And people are like, we love this. It's like this unicorn thing. It's awesome. And, as a result, our usage to the platform and all these features that we've built, it increased dramatically because people now have a sense of joy and a sense of direction on what to do. And I would just encourage people to take Holly's advice here and to bring that delight, make magic, as you say.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not making magic, what are you doing, you guys? Like,
right.
This should be fun. And by the way, if you don't feel delighted by your business, you've lost your mojo. People can sense that. So figure out how to get your own delight back and how to stay in that place so that you can actually inspire your team, inspire your existing customers, inspire your partners, inspire from stage. It is so important that you fill your cup of inspiration and delight so that you can spread more of that.
Nice. Well, I love that. Holly, if you could close us out, tell us where we can connect with you. I'm going to share a couple of things on my screen here.
Sure. So you can find me at hollyjeanjackson.com. That's the website. I'm also on LinkedIn at Holly J. Jackson. If you are looking for more inspiration and ideas for fine-tuning your own delight and energy, you can check out our podcasts and book, which are called Inspiration and Contagion. You can find the podcast on your favorite player. The book is on Amazon and Audible. And then we also have a free gift for you. So if you're feeling like you keep backing yourself into that same corner of busyness and overwhelm, we have the Life and Business Compass. You can download your free copy today. And as in filling that out, you will actually discover and learn what to say yes to and equally what to say no to so that you stop backing yourself into the wrong corner and then you're growing 1% each day.
1% each day. That's 365%. I'm in.
I know, right? It's a no-brainer, you guys. Like, what I do, I help people see more money. I help them monetize their shiny object syndrome. Like, who doesn't want to do that? So
we're in. Well, Holly, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. This is the Connection Loop podcast from Dub. Check out dub.com. Grab a free trial. Create, share, and track videos like a pro. Thanks, Holly.
And guys, if you learned anything, sign up for Dub, give it a try. I guarantee if you track your data points, you're going to have more clients, more delight moments, and a lot more fun.
A lot more fun. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Holly.
Thanks.
Stick around for some notes. Thanks.